Well, hello and welcome to Open Life Church Online. My name is Jaden. I'm one of the pastors here at Open Life. This is our online service for December 28th. We are all online as a church this weekend. We do not have any in-person services. And really what we are trying to do is just take time to honor our staff and volunteers for a job well done in 2025, but also offer everyone in our church an opportunity to rest and reflect on God's faithfulness the past year for Open Life, for both everyone personally, but also as a community of followers of Jesus. How has God been faithful to us in 2025? And first thing, I want to encourage you to fill out a Connect card. Let us know that you're watching and engaging with our service today. We want to also know how we can be praying for you. And the best way to communicate that is through the Connect card each week, whether you're in person at Open Life when we're meeting together, or if you're watching online. It is Open Life's 2025 Top 10, and we're excited to share those things with you. But rather than just the staff of Open Life getting together and talking about what we thought were the just top 10 things that happened in the past year, we wanted to get input from the entire church. So for the past 2 weeks, we've been putting a survey in front of you where you could fill out a quick form that had some options to choose out of 20 items of things that happened in the past year, as well as opportunity to offer your own, to give shout outs to people, to give some personal notes or quotes about what God has done in you through Open Life for the past year. And so we're excited to share some of these things that were shared with us. And when we list the top 10, we are going to be going in no specific order. There's no greatest, there's no least. These are just all things that jumped out to people as they shared those surveys with us. And so we're just excited to celebrate and give thanks to God for his faithfulness to us as a church the past year. And so our prayer should really be this: Lord, would you remind us all that there is to be grateful for and to be thankful for from the things that happened in 2025. Not just for ourselves, not just for our personal growth or ways that we've seen God's faithfulness to us personally, but for how you've been working within our church family as an Open Life church. And so this list is not exhaustive. There are things we have clearly missed and that we are not going to be sharing about that are worth celebrating, and we'll find time to do that when we are able. We also have not done everything perfectly, so that needs to be said as well. There is still huge areas where we need to meet the grace and mercy of God and how we live with one another. And he continues to meet us in that grace and mercy as we continue to honor him as a church and being faithful to him. So with all of that, let's jump in at the very beginning of 2025 in January and highlight our week of prayer and fasting. Well, to start off 2025, Thad wanted to encourage us as a church to set aside as a church a specific amount of time for us for prayer and fasting. And we did a whole series on this to start in the month of January. But it was that first week when we introduced the concept of fasting to many of us and encourage people to take it at their own pace, whether they were going to choose to fast maybe just a meal during the week, or maybe breakfast and lunch and then eat at dinner, or some chose to go the whole week. But really all of those, whatever decisions made, it didn't matter. We just wanted people to be in a focus of prayer and participating in fasting in some form. And so we got together at the end of that week for our break fast dinner. So everything culminated to that. And really, that was such a pleasant surprise to have so many gather together. I think we had almost 50 people gathering together to talk about how God met them during that week. And so we got to hear stories of just things that happened to people, things that people felt God was speaking to them, and really also thinking about how we were going to incorporate some of these practices in our life moving forward. And so there was just a great quote someone turned in. It says, "The participation from all ages for the week of prayer and fasting was a huge highlight and the reason many things happened this year. Prayer is always the beginning." And that's exactly right. We don't always know how prayer works and how God is moving within the prayers that we bring before him, but we know that we are to pray in any and every situation. And so what better way to go into 2026 by starting off the year again, a same week of fasting and prayer. And I want to encourage you to join us on January 4th as we jump back into the new year on Sundays at Open Life, where we're going to kick off the new year. We're going to encourage you about things that we're going to be doing during that week of fasting and prayer, and we'll just set it up so you understand what you're getting yourself into, how you can participate, and we'll again culminate that week of fasting and prayer, however you choose to engage with that, with the break fast dinner on Friday evening. So be checking the Open Life event calendar for that. But we're excited for that week of prayer and fasting and hope you really engage with that. Well, the next thing we want to talk about is the Open Life message series that happened in 2025. A number of people mentioned that they really appreciated that series on prayer and fasting to begin the year. But we also had series that were called Family Matters, as we looked at what it means to be the family of God, the life worth living, as we looked through the books of 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, and Titus. There was that series that we did right at the beginning of the fall, Missional Outposts. And so you can find all of these series on our Open Life Church app or on our website by going to our media page. But another one that was highlighted very recently by many people was the series Gifted and Called. One person said that the series on gifts and callings was so practical and meaningful. Thank you. And it really was great to walk through all of those specific spiritual gifts and then begin to look at how we are able to see those gifts at work within our church. But another series that we did back in February and March was called Longing for Home, where we unpacked how as followers of Jesus, we are actually foreigners in a foreign land, and how that really shapes the way that we look in the world and how we engage with the world. And so including how we engage with refugees, immigrants, and asylum seekers. And so this led to us as a church engaging with World Relief as one of our new strategic partners. And their vision statement is that we envision thriving, welcoming communities where families flourish and people experience restorative relationships with God, their neighbors, themselves, and all of creation. And so we looked at a number of different ways that we could engage with World Relief over the course of the next weeks, months, and years as Open Life. And so one of the things we did in May, we had a team of Open Life students and men who participated in the World Relief Cup soccer tournament to help raise funds for World Relief. And we had a really fun time of just playing for fun. There were some really great teams that were there, and so we had fun. One quote from someone that they turned in is, "I think my plantar fasciitis and broken finger from being goalie are still recovering from the World Relief Cup all the way back in June." And actually, I submitted that quote. It was a fun time, but I paid for it for a while. Just in the last couple of weeks, you may not know this, we had a group of Open Lifers provide the food for a holiday, a World Relief holiday party for their youth in their youth mentor program and their mentors. And so there's about 25 to 30 people there for people that are in this program. And so we were able to provide all the food for that party. And so such a great thing. There's this quote from Stephanie that she said that though World Relief's work is centered here in the U.S., their ministry crosses cultural, economic, racial, ethnic, political, linguistic, and religious borders. And I want to encourage you, if that's something that's pressing on your heart, to fill that out on your Connect card and just communicate that in the comments that you're wanting to participate in the team that's doing that. We have more ideas, but we need more of a team to engage with those and strengthen our relationship with World Relief going forward in 2026. So I hope that you take advantage of that.
Hey, well, I'm excited to share one of the top 10. And this one is Michelle joining the Open Life Student Life team. She's the student life or youth pastor, maybe as you would call it. But this year, John sensed a shift in his calling and his direction and wanted to pursue, and actually was successful in pursuing becoming a police officer. And so with that awareness, at the beginning of the year, we started looking for a youth pastor, and came about that in the spring I heard about an award, a Community Hero Award being given to this person named Michelle Paxton in Buckley, and by the middle school principal of all people. And I knew Jared and Michelle from ministry and the community. That happened. I was there. We scheduled a coffee. The dialogue continued, and over the course of time, it was a perfect fit and perfect timing. It was the right timing. Just months earlier, it would have been a no. So it was like God really opened the door for a perfect fit for the culture of our church and the culture of our student ministry team. One of the quotes on the surveys submitted said, "Proud of John Parker and all he did with the students at Open Life as youth pastor, and now excited to see him serve the community of Auburn as a police officer. It's such a blessing that Michelle was able to join our team as our new youth pastor, and to do so quickly. It's been great having the Paxton family become part of Open Life." Man, what a highlight and a miracle, because I mean to tell you, some great churches have not found youth pastors, and they've been looking for years. So we were really believing God to reach our middle school and high school students. So from her consistent growth on Tuesdays, the group is flourishing, being creative. They're doing a dinner every week. It's just some of the stuff they've launched into, to leading a great outing to the Northwest Ministry Youth Conference and an overnighter there. It's just seeing the students bond, the youth culture in church on Sundays. A student comes through the doors, they're connecting with them. It's just a great time to be involved in the student life ministry. So if you've been sensing a direction where the call of God, you've been nudged in your life, you're like, man, I feel like this is an area of ministry that potentially the gifts and call inside of me may flourish. I encourage you. I'm believing for 5 great leaders to come along, Michelle, and the team, the student life team, to serve our students, because it's only going to grow and reach as many students as we have leadership. So will you be one of the 5? I'm just praying and believing for that along with Michelle, and reach out to her, because I believe there's a great time ahead in our student life ministry.
All right, you may have noticed this fall that there has been a number of new Open Lifers that have joined our church. A good amount of people in their surveys said that it's just a highlight to see all these new faces coming through the doors, especially when it's people who came once, but then also came a second or third time, and really people have really engaged into the church. And so to just give you a stat for perspective on how this growth has worked out this fall, if you take our 12 highest attended Sundays in 2025, so for the whole year, 10 of them have been in the last 13 weeks. So for the last quarter, 10 of those highest services have happened just in the end of the year. And if you think about it, there was a Sunday in September where we had more people who came on one Sunday in September than came on Easter Sunday. And so that's a huge deal. This is something to celebrate, but it only reinforces the fact that your presence matters each and every Sunday. Your smiles, your handshakes, your fist bumps, your warm welcomes, your encouraging words, your engagement with worship on a Sunday morning, like you worshiping makes a difference. Your presence matters. And simply, just being at church 15 minutes early before service and staying for 15 minutes after makes a huge difference in creating an environment that says to guests and people that are joining us that this is a safe place where I can come and engage with my relationship with Jesus. Whether that's people who haven't yet started in a relationship with Jesus, or people who maybe are well along the journey and maybe they've moved into the area and they're looking for a church to call home. And so I just really thank you for that engagement. And really, I want to encourage you to continue to lean in 2026 by connecting, serving, and sharing our lives with one another as a church on Sundays. All right, so the next thing that we want to highlight from 2025 is people stepping up to serve in the past year, and specifically in response to Stephanie's recovery from surgery this fall. This was a top choice of a third of people who filled out their surveys, and I love that that was noticed by people within our church and wanted to be celebrated. Like even during a season of growth at Open Life, it was so great to see people jump in and step up both in small and big ways. What an encouragement. It was great to see new faces doing the welcome and announcements on a Sunday morning, like Amy and Angel and Christy. When we serve, I like to think of it in the sense that everyone gets to do something so that no one has to do everything. And here's just a quote from Stephanie I think will encourage you. It says, "The willingness of others to fill gaps, not only did it keep things moving forward with production and hospitality, but also allowed us to continue to serve our community through Kids Connect and our partnerships with the Sumner Bonney Lake Family Center, Olive Crest, World Vision, and more. If that weren't enough, people also stepped up to keep my dogs walked, house cleaned, and food on the table, which has made it possible for me to take the time to address a long-standing personal health issue." And so it's been encouraging to see Stephanie's recovery little by little and to see her slowly gaining strength in her foot. But let's just take time to pray right now, wherever you are, for her foot, that she would come to full healing in the recovery from her surgery. So God, we pray right now for Stephanie and her foot, and we just pray that you would bring healing. God, we know it's been a long journey even before the surgery, and now recovery and recuperation and physical therapy is in itself a long journey. And so we pray that she would see those steps as small moments until she's able to walk freely again. And so we do pray for that full healing in her foot, that she'd be able to walk whenever she wants, however she wants, whether it's walking her dogs, whether it's going on hikes that she so much enjoys. And so we just pray that you would bring healing to her and continue to bring people around her who can support her along this journey. And we thank you for that. And we ask this in your mighty and powerful name. Amen. Overall, we continued to see growth in a lot of different serve areas as well throughout the year. Here's some things people noticed. A personal highlight is seeing youth stepping out and leading worship, even if it is just singing one verse or playing an instrument once a month. Another person, one of the highlights of 2025 at Open Life would be being involved in serving to welcome people to Open Life as a part of the hospitality team, being at welcome dinners, taking a meal to families who need them, helping out at the gathering place improvements. Also, it's so exciting to see our young students involved in our morning worship every Sunday morning. And so just an incredible job specifically for you students. 2 shout outs. So we also want to thank each and every person who does something to help us do what we do on a weekly basis in the terms of serving. Thank you for everyone who gets there at Bonney Lake High School super early to set things up, and people who stay longer to tear things down. If you would love to jump into a serve team, we want to get you connected. So be sure and click that interested in volunteering on a serve team button when you fill out your Connect card, and we'll get you connected with something that fits with your monthly schedule and what your interests are, and we're excited to do that. Well, the thing that most people wanted to celebrate was a record year for the Community Big Give. We were able to pack 1,700 meals for Thanksgiving for families in need this year at the Community Big Give. We delivered 1,500 of those meals, and the rest were given to our local food banks for pickups and for use in the weeks right after the event. We had over 900 volunteers when you account for all the different volunteer roles and how they were filled. We had more community involvement with volunteering and donations than we've ever had in the past. We came in with enough donations, get this, all around, from sponsors, from donors in the community, from everyone at Open Life, for the money that we set aside as a church as well, to pay back all the amount that the food banks actually put in. And so it's great to celebrate that the Community Big Give was a no-cost event for our local food banks. And so just a quote someone turned in, it says, "It's incredible to see the involvement of so many in our community with the Community Big Give. Extra special that Open Life gets to lead the way in this by simply being present and being generous." So thank you so much for putting on a great event and your participation in that. Along with that, where Good Roots Northwest is one of our main partners in the Community Big Give, in the spring, in March, we were able to pack 1,900 plus power packs for Good Roots. And so these power packs go to students in need in our school district who need food over the course of the weekend. And so they get these power packs on Fridays so that they aren't going as hungry over the weekend if their family is in need or in a moment of food insecurity. And so it's so great that we were able to take a Sunday morning worship time and kind of relocate to another school and to participate and pack all those bags together. Just thanks for a quick short notice thing to do that. And really, this is the impact it has. Someone turned in this incredible quote, and I want you to just hear it, the heart here. This is what it says. It was so amazing to watch our church community and members of the community volunteer to pack the power packs for Good Roots and to volunteer for the Community Big Give. I feel so touched to see so many people willing to volunteer and help others in need. This is the true meaning of being part of a community. My family was in need of some help after some medical issues I have had this year. I don't like to ask for help or be in the spotlight, and I had to ask for help several times this last year. My Open Life family was there for me in my time of need. This really showed me the true meaning of living in a community and doing life together. I want to express how grateful, thankful, and loved our family feels by so many people at Open Life. I have felt the feeling of God's love overflowing throughout this year through Open Life in such a different way. I have personally grown and learned so much this year about trusting God in the storms of life and learned what living life in community really means. And I think I just love that quote so much in that story because it really emphasizes what's going on in the background when we do things like the Community Big Give or when we're packing power packs for Good Roots Northwest, and why it's so important for us as a church to be present with our community. Even for just a day with a massive impact, we get to share what's beautiful about loving others and being generous with our time, talent, and treasure. And so hats off to everyone who participated, everyone who gave, and everyone who is creating that environment at our church, but also that we get to share that with our community on these special moments throughout the year.
Okay, well, I'm excited that I'm back here. Here's another one of our top 10, the gathering place improvements. For the last couple weeks, I recorded out of my house because they were doing some work here, which I'll mention in a second. But we began this year by petitioning for an additional 5 feet in front of this building. Actually, we continued at the beginning of this year. We had already been petitioning for that for months, and we submitted letters. We made a call to people to submit letters about their support of this expansion. And my favorite one is Ellie's 5 years old. She submitted this. It said, "Parties get people together so they can be friends. The gathering place can help host parties and bring all parts of the community together. Then they can be friends." That's a great reason to give us 5 additional feet. But Pierce County declined that. So we had to pivot, right? A few months ago, 3 months ago, they said, "Hey, you're good to go. You can submit and get your permit docs ready." We had to pivot, restructure everything, restructure the size of the bathrooms, did a lot of work with occupancy levels in the building and doing some design concepts and submitting them and then hearing feedback. And we finally got to a point where they're like, "Okay, finalize your plans and submit them." So we're at the final stage of that right now. So what could we do this year? Well, right at Easter last year, we began landscaping. We made a few great improvements. We put English laurels all around the hedge of the property so that it could gain more just appeal visibly. In 3 years, those will be 10 feet high. We'll maintain them 4 feet deep, 10 feet high. It'll be a sound barrier wall. It'll be beautiful. You'll just see Mount Rainier over the top of it over here. And so we were excited to get those planted. That was a massive undertaking. And during the course of that, we made some improvements to our parking and storage. So I'm pretty pumped that we were able to do that. It made the property immediately look better. Oh yeah, and we dropped a fence right in front of the garden and got rid of those eco blocks that just looked weird. So those, there's a lot more beautiful experience happening out there. We've got some great storage capacity for the things that we're facilitating in community. And we still have some work to do. We're going to stripe it and put some landscaping around it. That'll all happen this next year, as I'll talk about in a second. You haven't seen what has been happening that booted us out of here from recording for a couple weeks. And really, you can only feel it. You can't see it. The floor is level in here. They did a massive crawl space project of putting more supports and the correct type of supports and tie-ins underneath the main floor at the gathering place. A massive project that needed some expertise. And so now the floor is somewhat level. And way more than before. There was like a positive inch and a negative 2 inch. So at spots, it was 3 inches difference from one spot to another in this room. And now it's all within a quarter of an inch. So pretty miraculous. It's sound, it's not shaky, and we're excited about the results. And now, since that's done, we get to work on the dip in the ceiling, the roof over here. Why in the world would we do that? One, so the roof doesn't cave in, but two, so that the insulation can be put in. We've signed a contract with 316 Insulation that's gonna come, and there's no insulation in this building, guys. It's unreal. So they're gonna insulate the ceiling, the wall, and the crawl space, and we get a rebate for the ceiling and the wall being insulated before we submit our permits. So we're like, we got to get this done so that we can submit the permits. So this next year, we're gonna frame out the wall here and behind this camera after we're done with the insulation and the sistering and the insulation. We're gonna, so we have a storage area here. The wall will be solid on the gathering place side. We'll put a TV in that and figure out a way to cover it. We're gonna shiplap the entire room. We're gonna surface the floors and get the blue carpet out of here. We're gonna get those permits submitted to Pierce County, and God willing, we'll raise the funds and start building in 2026 here. We're slowly draining the funds we raised when we acquired this building, doing projects like the crawl space, the roofs, the framing, the improvements, the flooring, the landscaping. And so we're excited to see what God will do in this space. It's totally a highlight.
Well, we had some incredible global trips in 2025, and we just want to re-highlight those things and the things that we were able to do on those trips. In January, we had our Bangladesh Justice trip, where a group of open lifers took a second trip to Bangladesh from when we went back in 2024. And so we're really, in these trips, we get to support and see the work that our strategic partner, Speak Up for the Poor, is doing to keep girls out of child marriages in Bangladesh, and how that really does have an incredible impact and a significant transformation that happens in the lives of those girls, but also in their families and also in their towns and villages, in their cities. And so it's so exciting to hear those stories when the teams come back and get to share those things. In August, end of July, early August, we had a team that went to the Dominican Republic for a mission trip to serve the missionaries that we support there, Jamie and Beverly Bayo. And we had so many fun opportunities to connect with their neighbors, both around where they live and as well where their church meets, and to invite everyone and anyone to several community events and simply to be present in their community, just in the ways that we try to be present with ours here in Bonney Lake. And so we also had a few opportunities to lead in prayer and in worship, both in English and Spanish. So thank you, Charlene and Angel, for always interpreting throughout the trip. We had a great time. And I think what seemed to be most profound for me personally as I was on the trip, but also for the team, is just how our hearts just connected to one another on the team, but also to the people that we were engaging with on a daily basis. And it's just such a meaningful time for us and them to just see how the church is at work across the globe, not just in our own country. And so if you weren't at one of those trip highlight services that we do when the teams come back, I want to encourage you to go back into our media page or on the Open Life Church app, go to the special 2025 messages, and you'll find those highlight services, and you'll get to see all the pictures and to hear the stories of the impact that each of these teams had on their trips. And so I know Stephanie is beginning to plan out what the trips are for 2026 and 2027. And so if you just have an interest of going on one of these missions trips or on a justice trip, I want to encourage you to click that box on your Connect card when you fill it out so that she can get in contact with you and really begin to set some plans up for that. Well, in 2025, we continue to see meaningful growth in the groups that are at Open Life, and so both in involvement and consistency. So here's some things people shared. First one, everyone should be involved in a weekly group to be the support available to others. Another person, our group has had some special moments together, sharing meals, being vulnerable, and praying for one another. Our spirits are often lifted following Tuesday's meetings with some of the most genuine people around. And so looking towards 2026, maybe you're not in a group, but you feel God pressing on your heart that you know you need to take a step to grow in community here at Open Life. And groups is going to be the best way to do that. And even as we go into a season, starting off in January of fasting and prayer, maybe you'll use that time to really pray about where God is leading you, to ask simple questions to consider like this: how is my heart being open for the people within our church community? Am I willing to switch around my schedule a bit to be able to be available for my brothers and sisters in Christ? Am I willing to be present and open to share my life with others? And that's really what it all comes down to. I want to encourage you not only to fill out your Connect card and check that you're interested in joining a group so we can get you involved right at the beginning of 2026, but also to check out the groups that we already have. Maybe you can join up with one that's already meeting, and so you can always find that on the Open Life Church app or on our website as well, where we have links to our groups page. So I really want to encourage you to maybe make 2026 a year where you take a step in sharing your life and being a part of a group. All right, we've come down to the end, and again, these have been in no order, but the last thing that we want to celebrate is meetups in 2025. We really tried to lean into meetups to allow you and anyone else at Open Life to invite and join other Open Lifers doing what interests you. And so we've had a number of meetups, whether it's for those with children and doing some special activities with them, for those interested in arts and in watercolors, for people interested in going to Sounders matches. I had fun inviting other people into that. Women who like soup, we had a meetup for that, and that one's continuing on, I think, each month. We had a bagel making meetup. Also, pickleball during the summer. It was great to see people on the pickleball court who you don't always interact with on a weekly basis. And it's fun to imagine how these opportunities and meetups will grow into the future. And something especially meaningful this past summer in August is when we gathered on a Sunday evening at multiple locations throughout our community, like Buckley, all the way through multiple parts of Bonney Lake. And so it's just incredible to have that afternoon and to see the relationships formed and at least connection formed. Is like, I didn't know that you lived so close to me. And so it's cool to see when those things happen. And so many of our meetups also include our men's and women's events. So men's breakfast, it happens each month on the second Saturday morning of each month. Here's some quotes from two different men who have participated in the last year. It says, the openness at men's breakfast and our sharing both of our hurts and joys has been great this past year. Another one, a men's breakfast has been a comfortable place to connect on a deeper level, and the food is always great as well. For women's meetups, they've been doing a new rhythm where they do meet each month for a different meetup based upon someone else's interests. And so I know they've done a lot of different workshops or crafts as well. But then they also meet quarterly for larger events that are more formal and come with like kind of an opportunity to invite other people into that. And so a number of women highlighted how impactful the women's retreat was back in April. A quote from someone that attended that said, it's been encouraging to see more rhythms forming for the women at Open Life. I think retreats have been a big part of that, as well as just a general sense that God is bringing more life there. Great things are ahead. And so I believe that too. Great things are ahead. And so I want to encourage you to always be checking the meetup calendar. There's nothing on there right now, with the holidays and things coming up. But I want to encourage you, if you're doing something maybe with one other person or two other people, and you would like to invite other open lifers into it, that was a great way to start a meetup. It's just to say, hey, I'm already doing this, but I'd love to get more people involved in. Maybe I don't know that someone goes to my church and that I'm in relationship with at Open Life is actually interested in what I'm interested in and already doing. And so I want to encourage you, go check out our meetups page and consider if you'll start doing a meetup. And it's just a one-off thing. You could just do a meetup, or maybe it becomes a more regular thing. You can be very open. So go check out our meetup calendar and meetup page and see if you want to start one of those. And so a final quote from Stephanie. This is what she says: groups, meetups, retreats, anything that encourage growing together and solidarity are high on my list of highlights for 2025. We need each other to flourish, so any way we can be together in person or in spirit is worth celebrating and cultivating. And so with that is our top 10 of 2025 at Open Life Church.
Well, thank you, Jaden, and for all those who contributed to the top 10 for 2025. I think of our verse, that we're built on, 1 Thessalonians 2:8, which says, we love you so much. We're delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well, because you become so dear to us. And I just think of the foundation we're built on and the growth we're making, and the future is certainly bright. But when I look over these things we're celebrating collectively from your entries and shared experiences this past year, I think of just a few verses later in 1 Thessalonians 2:19, when it says, for what is our hope, our joy, or the crown in which we will glory in the presence of our Lord Jesus when he comes? Is it not you? It's you. I just thank you for being a part of our family and for welcoming in new members, which we'll continue to do in great number in 2026. I really feel you've felt it this fall. There's a resurgence of people who are just hungry for God. And so we'll celebrate our 16th year. We started January 10th, 2010. So in 2026, looking ahead, we're going to celebrate our 16th year right off the get-go. Right after our week of fasting and prayer, we're going to celebrate, God willing, the permits and the progress on the gathering place. We're going to continue to experience growth, exponential growth, and have the charge of encouraging and welcoming in those who are leaning into a relationship with Jesus. As I had a conversation with this Sunday with somebody new in the last few weeks, and I just said, where have you been going to church? And the person said, we haven't been going to church. This was so needed in our lives. And you're a part of making that story possible, and a lot more stories like that in 2026, helping people get in groups, launching meetups, just allowing our gifts to be infused into their lives. Speaking of that, we're going to empower more and more people to lean into their gifts and call. We love that series this last year, and I believe God is percolating. He's got some things stirring in you, and so helping you get in the right place in student ministry and kids' life and group leadership, helping facilitate courses so that we can lift people up in so many different ways within this community. That's our job, to empower you for works of service so that we can experience the fullness of God, right? Ephesians 4. I believe the dreams that were sparked during our missional outpost series are going to come to fruition in 2026. We're going to fan into flame some visions and dreams to launch strategic missional outposts in our region. Get the ball rolling. Think long. Think, what can we do to make a positive impact in communities in our region, spaces where maybe a traditional church service is not the model that will reach people, but a dinner church or a missional outpost, a bakery, a coffee shop, whatever that be. How can we bring the gospel to people who would never walk into a traditional gathering space? These missional outposts are homes, places where we can make the gospel tangible for people. And then just a continued depth of faith. Coming out of COVID, we knew we needed a deeper relationship with Jesus. And that is our mission, to help you grow in your relationship with Jesus. We're people leading people into a growing relationship with Jesus. And we're praying that that depth of relationship with Jesus grows in you this year. God, I thank you for 2025. Pray for 2026. We're believing to just submit to your desires, your will, for you to direct our steps, light our path. And we thank you for the blessings of this last year, but we anticipate your continued outpouring. You're using us as your vessels to flow through and touch the lives of our neighbors, our classmates, teammates, co-workers, families in this community, and make the gospel known to the watching world. In Jesus' name, we love you. Amen. God bless you. Have a great end of the year. Happy New Year. We will see you on the 4th of January. God bless.